What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another stream. Happy Thursday. Happy Halloween as well. Whoever celebrates and likes Halloween. So happy Halloween. And we had quite of an interesting day in the market. It was full of surprises. So, yeah, interesting. It's the end of the month. We are 2 months away from the end of the year. Basically, 6-7 weeks away from the end of the year. And yes, it was promising that this week would be crazy in terms of volatility. It's working. The dollar is still it looks like the price is starting to gain direction, but it's still challenging a little bit until we get the momentum. We have seen the momentum in many other assets, especially in the indices, really down move today, and something that we have been expecting, to be honest. If you have been following the stream, you know that we have been looking for bearish moves on the indices. Oil basically about to fill the gap. Apparently there was some news that Iran is about to retaliate against Israel the next maybe few days or so, which is something that just happened last half an hour. So that's interesting. That was another one. And then we have pound just made in that extra leg to the downside. That was something also that we were aware of, that again, the low that was created, looks like there was still more room to the downside, and we have euro pound doing the opposite, which we just put to the upside. It looks like that the market is not happy with the UK budget announced yesterday, which will be a strong bearish move on the pound pairs, and the gilts actually are going all the way through as well. So that's an interesting one. Yeah, that's interesting, right? So we had news, we had core PCE, so a few CPI data or inflation reports being announced today, even in the Eurozone as well, with an uptick as well in here from 2.7 and when it was 2.6, core at 2 when it was normal at 2 instead of 1.9. Then you have also the core PC at 0.3 on a monthly basis. Even month before it was revised from 0.1 to 0.2, right? So a little bit of an uptick in here. Unemployment claims, interesting enough, it went all the way down. So if you remember, like 3 or 4 weeks ago, we had a number of 258,000, if I'm not mistaken. Then slowly coming back into this 220 range, right? That we are always expecting, and that has been the medium at this point. So that's interesting. Tomorrow we have the big data, which is the NFP, first day of the month. So happy month for anyone tomorrow. But there you go, right? We're going to have an NFP. It's going to be interesting to bring more volatility into this volatile market. And you have also BOG. We're looking for shorts on the N pairs, and it played out exactly as we were looking as well. It looks like that price was already showing so much compression and creating a really good range where it was. Again, the N index to the upside. It didn't make that last fake out that I was looking for, but it reacted from the level that we have been waiting for a few weeks. So that was okay. In terms of what the governor Wade mentioned, well, at this point it's remaining the same, but eventually it could increase the rates once again. But that's more for future meetings. We'll see what's going to happen in there. In terms of the earnings, like the earnings, they have been actually quite okay. So which leads to be a surprise the way that the indices actually have been reacting or moving, right? Because the earnings even yesterday, I think it was Meta or something like that, and Microsoft, whatever, they were actually kind of beating expectations. Meanwhile, we actually have those stocks moving to downside. Today, we're still going to have Apple and Amazon, and also Intel. So we'll see. Wait, maybe in a few, maybe one hour or so, that we're going to have those earnings being announced. So expect more volatility as well in there. But interesting enough that the earnings have been quite positive, but in the reality is that the indices have been quite bearish, which usually tends to be a little bit of a concern, because if you are seeing good news, usually the market should react to it. But if the market is not reacting to it, it's actually quite the opposite. That can lead to a concern in here. In terms of the interest rate, without the news, nothing has changed. Everyone is still expecting a 25 basis points 1 week from now, so it's going to be actually in 1 week. Interesting enough, it's not going to be on a Wednesday, it's going to be actually on a Thursday. I don't know if it's because of the election or not, but the reality is going to be on that Thursday in here. And again, everyone is already starting to vote in the US. Maybe some initial votes that have been counted. Who knows who's going to win? We'll see. That's going to be for next week. All right. So this is what we have basically in here on the dollar index. So we have been waiting and looking for the dollar index to break the lows and eventually move to the downside, right? That's been something that we have been anticipating and looking for and that's so far what we have. Now, interesting enough, dollar index hasn't really managed to break completely or create momentum. All right, interesting enough that price actually is respecting, one second, price is actually still respecting this level in here and may actually go all the way. Now that it managed to break below that level, in here start opening door a little bit to the downside, it may have actually left this level in here at the highs for a future event, which can be next week, maybe even tomorrow with the NFP. I would like to see actually new low being created in here now. I don't want to see price respecting this level and going to the upside. Alright, if price respects this level in here and goes to the upside, we may actually have new highs before moving to the downside. Alright, so that's why I would actually prefer a new low to be seen in here, and then price perhaps could react from there. What I would have liked to see is, okay, price creating this level and going to the upside, and then kind of just going without retesting this level. Because this opens the door for price to come back into here, because there are left orders behind at around this level when you have this type of a move. And I like to see price moving away without retesting this level, which increases the likelihood that price actually eventually can turn in here. So again, nothing really changes. Everything has been played out as we have been anticipating on the dollar index. Again, we've been calling for that potential turn. I like the pattern. I mentioned that already, that I like the way price was moving, created this double top, we faked out that level, and then you start confirming the move to downside by starting to break some lows. Right, this is the moment that we start breaking some lows, which means that price actually starts turning bearish. It doesn't mean that price is not going to have one last push in here before making a move. Okay, it doesn't mean that, but maybe price can just respect this level in here, or can even just respect this level, maybe use this double top in there at this point to fake out, and then potentially move to downside. So that could also play out in here, to be honest. So in reality, from the levels that I'm looking for, I can actually delete this one. All right, so I have already my green mark in there. As you know, any green mark that I'm making here is some potential levels that I could anticipate price to react from. All right, now that we have this double top in there, I could see eventually price to react from somewhere in here. All right, or somewhere around this structure, even though I'll prefer actually to see price going all the way to the extreme. But those are just a few zones in here, and then if you do break those as well, maybe in here price can still react from it and push to the downside. So those are a few levels in there until eventually price moves to the downside in here. Now, the indices, perfect. Like again, if you guys have been watching the stream and if you guys know, this is what we have been looking for. We've been looking for the S&P literally to fill this range, and it's paying out. We noticed the engulf to downside, and we talked about the scenario where price could react from either this level, again, that's exactly the market I had in there, or even a little bit more of the extreme. Price then starts compressing in here, taking the demands from these levels in here, anytime that price was making a low, and then now eventually turns. Everything in here has been compressed, so there is nothing else holding price up, and price just drops, right? And now literally filling out this range all the way closer to this and to this next structure, somewhere around this level. So everything played out as we were anticipating throughout this week, or even the last few days. Which means that now we need to see what price is going to do next. All right, we need to see if price actually is going to hold this level and starts moving to the upside from here, or if price eventually breaks and starts moving into the next level, because there's also already a gap in here that price can go and fill. So that's something that we need to keep an eye on in here on the S&P. All right, that's it basically. So this is the way I look at the market. Like I try to find space in the market, and then I look for price to fill it. And once price fills that space, then I need to wait and see what can happen next. All right, and I need to wait to see if price, for example, it starts breaking this level, it starts opening new space, and then I can see what levels price can go and react from before actually filling that space that is available in there. Right, that's basically a little bit of the way I look at it. I don't really care if it is bullish, bearish, whatever. Maybe I just look at price as space that needs to be filled, where is the liquidity that price can go eventually towards to, and then eventually price to make that move, anticipate what levels are still fresh, and when everything is taken, then price which is free to go and make the move. It's a lot of patience. It's about of looking for the opportunities, the moment that we need to, or that we can actually look for a bigger target, smaller target, and so on and so forth. So that's a little bit of what we have in here on the S&P. Basically price filling a bit of the range. Again, you're going to have those Apple and Amazon announcing their earnings in a bit, so we'll see what's going to happen. Nasdaq, exactly the same thing, right? So we have been looking for price eventually to go and react from that above this highs into that last zone in there, and price reacted quite nicely. It started to move to downside yesterday, and then eventually broke that level and then use it as a continuation. Like instead of using this level as a zone for price to instead of using this level as a demand zone where price could bounce and go. And that happened a little bit, but eventually they use it on the opposite side, like actually as a level of a demand becoming a supply basically, and then just filling out the range. Everything in here basically was compressed by now, and then eventually price, as I mentioned, I've been looking eventually for price to actually make this move. This flow in here didn't really reacted all the way towards that level. It's just pausing there, and now price finally getting closer and closer to that zone, which is eventually the target that we have been looking for. So really interesting move, a negative move today, 2% negative, S&P minus 1.4. So it has been quite bearish again after such a good news or positive news in the big tech and earnings that we have seen in the last 2 days. It's a little bit of a concern. That's a little bit of a concern, and we'll see. I don't know if this is already playing in terms of for the election, or maybe trying to push price down just to, I don't know, find new orders or to shake some traders in here until kind of price resumes a new bullish move in here. So we'll see. All right, so again, we haven't really managed to break that all-time highs from July in the Nasdaq, and we'll see if eventually going to play out like that. Right, again, I'm still bearing in mind that price never really managed to break that low in there. So if I do see a new all-time high being created, I wouldn't be surprised. All right, but I would like to see price actually perhaps still holding in here. All right, if price starts actually breaking below that level, it starts opening the door to go way further down. Price could react just immediately from here, but it definitely starts opening a new dimension and a new move to downside in here. All right, that's definitely a possibility on the Nasdaq. If it just keeps holding in this level, then we could start making another leg up. And as you know, we need this sometimes. When you do have a strong move to downside, usually then the reaction can be quite aggressive in terms of correcting that move. That's something that we have seen quite a lot. All right, again, just see any bearish, any strong, price just turns, kind of goes and turns, like again goes and turns again. Like you have seen a few of those moves like that sometimes on the indices, especially when price is still kind of with a lot of buy pressure. So we'll see how price may react from this level. In my opinion, it's still fresh, and price can definitely react from it in here. So that's definitely a potential play that you can look for. I'll just change the time frame in here 1 second. All right, and just do it this one. Maybe 30 minutes time frame. It's better. All right, so yeah, a play like this could be if you do break some highs in here, that's even better, and then price could actually react from it and make a leg to the upside at least to test that level. So that's definitely something to bear in mind in here. Then we have Dow, and Dow just continue, right? So Dow actually went all the way through. Again, this is something that we have been looking for as well, especially after price broke that level. Again, as I mentioned, price had already starting to show some weakness by breaking that low, and then finally follow through with that one. We mentioned that there were maybe a few levels in here, for example that one where I have the green mark. You can see how price reacted from it, but then it kept respecting the high, and that's basically what we had. Like we had this structure in here, and we were looking to see which level price would break, and price never really managed to break to the upside, just kept respecting these left shoulders in here, and then eventually start breaking lows, and it just followed through, right? And then there you go, we have this all engulfed the downside already, so we're looking for price to get into the next level, which will be somewhere closer to this level, and that's basically what we had in here on the down. So that move as well is basically about to be completed, and then we need to pay attention, and again, it's the same story. We need to see if price actually starts managing to break this structure to the downside, or price eventually is going to hold it and perhaps finding some buy pressure from here. All right, so that's definitely the play at this point. This is definitely one of the targets that I was looking for eventually for this move that Dow made to the upside in here. Right, it's typical a type of manipulation that eventually is going to be used as a target when price reverses, and that's exactly what's going on in here at this point. All right, and then if price starts breaking below this level, it starts opening the door to go way further down, and perhaps there's some structure in there, and then eventually goes all the way through. So that's definitely a level to pay attention. I think that the month zone that's in here maybe has already been reacted from. So yeah, that may have been the case. So there you go. We'll see what's going to happen next in here on the Dow. And then the DAX, what can I say? All right, this was this week. So on Monday, we're looking for those shorts at the highs. Again, we talked about this level in here and what a move that we have seen in here on the DAX. It filled the range without any kind of barrier whatsoever from the buyers. There was just a small retracement into the previous support resistance, and then prices follow through, same story, and then prices follow through, getting all the way to the target, right? So basically price again fill this space really well, and when you do find them, again those become literally one of the A+ setups, one of the best opportunities that you can find, especially when price after breaking goes all the way back to the extreme. Like we can literally target all the way through. That's kind of what we talked about. Of course, you can maybe take some profits along the way just to ensure that you get paid along the way. But you can have, this is one of those trades that you can have an expectation to look for a bigger trade, because there's a lot of space to be filled in here. Like again, it takes a lot of time. It's like, as you can see, perhaps you get this confirmation on the 23rd and then eventually get the entry only 6 days later. So it takes a lot of patience to eventually to get into that stage. But those are the opportunities that you can look for. A little bit more of a, I wouldn't call it a swing position because it's even just a few days, but maybe, yeah, you can maybe call it as a swing position in here. In this case, it was just quick, right? Sometimes it can actually take a lot of time for price to even make all this move, but beautifully, and then goes into alignment with what we just mentioned as well, which is price now needs to either break this level to downside and starts moving way further down, eventually closer to this level, or it starts respecting this level and now moving to the upside. Like, so again, this is the question mark. Now what's going to happen in here? That is price going to break this level, or is going to hold and eventually turn? Like one of the two. That's kind of the view in here. Now price can even break and may not go all the way to the downside straight away. Price actually can retrace first before moving, but that's a little bit of the zones now that we have in here on the DAX. So again, the really good move that we talked about this week. Perfect. If you guys are watching the stream, again, this is the type of opportunities that I'm talking and again anticipating and predicting in here for everyone, for us to take advantage of it in the stream. Yeah, so again, let me know in the comments if you did manage to catch anything in here on the DAX. Bitcoin, interesting enough, is finding some selling pressure now that critic literally above top from the all-time highs all the way back in March. All right, so again, didn't really manage to break it. Is maybe just checking a little bit of the buyers, maybe getting a little bit scared of trying to persuade even more people to sell at the double top before eventually they get checked out. That's actually a good move in here. So trying to persuade a lot of sellers, finding some selling pressure in here until everyone gets faked out in here, and then eventually can have the continuation. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. Good level in here where price is reacting, and the price can even go all the way back into here. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. But we do have some structure in here around these highs that price can react as well. Ethereum found a much bigger move to downside. So it went all the way, it filled the range in here to the upside, and now it's starting to move. Like we had already this initial break to downside. I actually mentioned that with one of the guys that trades Ethereum, that attention to this low in here. This starts to show a little bit of weakness, but there was definitely still that space a little bit more to the upside. That price eventually went there and filled it, and now price literally filling all the way, getting into the next available space, which is basically in here. All right, so that's a nice one. And then if price starts breaking below that, we can anticipate price to go into here, but price could find some buy pressure where it is right now, right? But as you can see, Ethereum is nowhere near as bullish as what Bitcoin has been making or moving. So it's still within this range in here. Again, I don't change my mind. This level in here quite still looks a little bit bearish, to be honest. So we'll see how price is still going to play out in there. And then Euro Index, right? That's another one. This was another pair of the week for us in terms of predicting and anticipating the strength on the Euro pairs. Really nice. Price broke trend line, and then we had all this range in here. Initially this trend line in here, and then eventually going all the way back to this high. And that's basically where we are getting closer to. Right, price even already fake out that level, and from here we may find a little bit of selling pressure on the yen, on the euro pair, sorry. That's going to be an interesting one, something to pay attention to. It played out really nicely this week in here, right? And again, this is about positioning. It's about to try to identify which pairs or currencies actually are going to be stronger or weaker for the week, and try to find those opportunities accordingly. And then the end, right? So this is the one that we have been waiting as well. So again, I mentioned several times that initially, even when price was here, that I wanted to see price getting closer to this demand zone. And then I also mentioned that maybe price could even go closer, maybe fake out this lows in here, getting a little bit closer into this deep level, that demand zone, but price apparently just respected this level. We had our initial break of the highs that we looked at, and we also noticed and we mentioned that price never really managed to close the gap in here, right? So there was still that gap in there to be filled, and eventually price made that move. It was yesterday, but overnight with the BOG, and then price just continues, not filling one of the first targets in there, but in reality just broke this level in here, which means that we may actually start moving a little bit more to the upside, and maybe this is the target that you're going to be looking for in here, okay? Maybe for price to fill out this place. Now, as you can see, I have a few green marks in here. That was one of them, and then this is another one where price already reacted from. This is another one that maybe price can still bounce a little bit from. All right, but I wouldn't really give much importance to this one. I think price eventually can go slightly higher, and then I see this one already being taken, and price can get a little bit closer to this level in here, to be honest, and that is the extreme, right? So basically this one in here is basically around all this structure in there. In terms of potential still longs from here, right? Again, price can even fake out one more time these lows. I need to check this one in the war time frame to see if there's anything in there, any space that price may wants to fill, and then eventually in here could also be, again, maybe in the war time frame there's something in there that could give us a guidance in terms of to see if there's any fresh levels in there. So again, something that we could do is, for example, this, like we have the manipulation, like the liquidity being created in here during the news, and then it's trying to understand if price already reacted from that level or not on the way away from the level. Like as price is moving to the upside, did price reacted from that level in there, yes or no, right? So again, you have that level, price already spiked in it, first takes the highs, I think first took the highs and then moved to the downside. So that if that was what happened in here, that's perfect. That's exactly what I would like to see, to be honest, in there, but maybe not. Maybe actually price may actually have gone to the downside first and only then break it and then kind of range a little bit, which means that this is a little bit of the next level that we could eventually look for. Okay, I would consider this one, which is a break as well, decision pointed breaks, but this level in here can be also interesting, and I don't really think that price then close this gap. So that could be a potential level eventually where price can go and react from. All right, somewhere around this level. Let me just bring this one up. And then in here could be under test of this zone, which again I wouldn't really like to trade in this level, to be honest. I could still see price reacting from it, but I would prefer to see price having a deeper retracement into this level before making that move to the upside. So, but again, there's no need for price to do that at this point. Price already spent a lot of time in here, and price can actually easily just move to the upside. Interesting enough, looks like that price actually reacted from this left shoulder in here. Yeah, perfect reaction. Like perfect reaction as price was moving away, reacted already from that left shoulder, and that's what we have. So we'll see, expecting perhaps more bullishness in here on the end index, just as we anticipated yesterday. Now, looking at the individual currency pairs, like, let me know, guys, what you guys are looking for, and if you're getting value as well from the stream. And we can look at the charts together. So Euro index today was a little bit more of a ranging. So price finally reached the initial target that we were looking for. Like we were looking for those longs. We called the bottom in here on the euro. Price, it was reacting really nicely after taking out that level, and you're looking for price to fill a little bit that space towards here. Right, so that was a little bit of the first target that you're looking for price to go all the way above this double top, getting into that zone, which was also kind of a little bit of a previous level of support resistance. Now price is still respecting this level in the same way that the dollar index could go a little bit more to the downside. That opens the door for the euro dollar to continue to move to the upside, and perhaps then the next target becomes this level in here. All right, so that can be eventually the next level that this euro dollar can eventually move towards to, and it can even go higher than that, to be honest. Can even fake out this highs and go slightly more to the upside, to be honest. All right, so that's definitely something to bear in mind. Now price of course can retrace, can move in between in here, maybe can even retrace towards this level before moving to the upside. So that's something to bear in mind. We didn't really manage to break below this low, so maybe there's a little bit more of bullishness in here. Is there anything above that high that can be of concern? That's something to bear in mind in here, which means, what I mean is there anything in here that price can still react from as price is moving? Yeah, maybe there are a little bit. Again, this level was good, price already reacted from it. So that's interesting. We'll see tomorrow if you're going to manage to, yeah, let's see what's going to happen tomorrow, to be honest. Again, I could still see eventually price going all the way until there. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. But again, with NFP, price could make, if the dollar index by any chance is going to make that deeper retracement to the upside before perhaps continue to move to downside, then we should anticipate something similar on the euro dollar, right? That's where my mind is at this point with that potential move, because I could still see dollar index eventually making that deep retracement, which means that euro dollar could make something similar. And that could maybe just retest off this level in here, right? It looks like that price may have created something like that. And maybe there's something in here that euro dollar could go. Yeah, somewhere around this level, to be honest. So that's something just to bear in mind in here on the euro dollar. If that's the idea, then that could go. I would prefer to see a new high being created, to be honest. I would prefer maybe to see price breaking slightly maybe above that level and then go. Now that price actually still respecting that level, like if price had broken this level in here, then I could see that move happening and perhaps the continuation. Price didn't really manage to break that low, so unless there's some really interesting PA tomorrow morning at around this level, otherwise price may just go higher. Is there any chance that maybe price can go even a little bit higher in here? So price is reacting from this structure in there. Is there any chance that maybe price wants to go closer? Price already reacted for me, to be honest, in here. So maybe somewhere around this level. It looks like that's already kind of being spiked as well. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure if there's anything in there. But something that we can pay attention to. All right, we can pay attention. If by any chance price still wants to make one last fake out of this high into something in here and start moving to the downside, that's something to bear in mind and potentially anticipate that deeper retracement before a move. But that's not exactly something that I think. I don't really feel the need for the euro dollar to do that. The deep retracement already happened with this move. That was something that we're looking for. We have another deep retracement already in here. So eventually this dollar in this euro dollar could actually gain some momentum and move away from here. All right, so we'll see if that's going to play out. Pound dollar, right? Pound dollar now made that big move. So this was actually a perfect reaction for our time frame zone, where he had that reaction yesterday. And then again, if you even look at the daily time frame, you can literally see that there was literally a lot of space to be filled, even from the break of that level into the next structure, which is basically where price is bouncing from right now. So that was an interesting one on the pound. That's why we were mentioning several times that maybe these lows were still not actually the last lows, and we're still a little bit more bearish on the pound comparing with the euro. And that move finally happened. Again, the market is not reacting that positively to the budget that was announced yesterday. There was a lot of negative sentiment in the pound because of that. And we have literally seen that, right? We have seen that on the opposite side. For example, you see euro pound making a really strong move to the upside. Now, pound reacted from an interesting level at this point, all right? So you just pick out those small lows in there and it's reacting from something here. Could even go a little bit lower, but somewhere in here is not a bad level for the pound to start finding some buy pressure, to be honest, all right? So price actually went out of the way. It's kind of reacting a little bit from here. So it's not a bad level. It's not a bad level at all. It is basically one of the structures that the price found, and it's starting to move a little bit to the upside, start breaking some highs in here as well. So potentially I could see eventually, again, it could continue to move lower or could find something in there. Otherwise, if price starts going into this level, then I'm looking for price to get a little bit lower in there. So we'll see what kind of a move. Again, if the dollar index by any chance wants to make that leg up, maybe this pound dollar can make another leg down before turning. Or yeah, I think now it's going to be a bit more dependable on the dollar, sorry, for tomorrow. Maybe the effect of these 2 negative days that we had with due to the budget may have already been now printed and basically seen in the market in here. So we'll see. All right, so again, this is a okay level. Definitely price kind of reacted quite nicely from here, and there's maybe some more price action that we could anticipate and look for at around this structure. All right, maybe price can create something in here, maybe they can go higher, takes these highs. All right, so basically what can I do is this. So basically create a little bit of this structure in there, and then eventually goes higher a little bit, takes that high, and then eventually tomorrow morning kind of goes with some Asian lows, whatever it may be, then makes that move and moves to the upside. Right, so that PA in here could happen, and that's still kind of a good level. And if that happens, especially if we do manage to break kind of a high a little bit more into this upper structure, maybe can have a turn a little bit in here on the pound dollar. So that's something to bear in mind. Then you have euro pound, right? And euro pound, what a beautiful move. Again, I cannot believe that that euro pound made this extra leg down, or one last extra leg down to take me out. But it is what it is. This was definitely the move that I was looking for. Everything in here would compressed. Again, I hold the trade for a week for then price to take me out just the day before to make all this push to the upside. And now it's reacting from the target that one of the targets that you're looking for, which is for price to go all the way above this high and reacting closer to that level. Beautiful move. And from here, I think you could start finding some selling pressure. And that's why I could also see perhaps the pound dollar starting to move a bit more to the upside now that this euro pound is reacting from this level. You could definitely still go a little bit higher. If it starts breaking above the structure, then it starts opening the door for this move to the upside. So that's something to bear in mind. But I think now you could find some kind of resistance at around this level. We have an interesting supply in there. Price is starting to kind of range a little bit. So that's going to be a potential move in here, right? So we have been bullish for so long on euro pound, and maybe now it's about time to find a little bit of a selling pressure in here. So potentially we could have price ranging a little bit, eventually making that extra high one more time, and then kind of moving a bit more to downside, just to correct basically correct a little bit of this strong move. Attention to this level somewhere around here. Maybe price already reacted from it, to be honest, with this move, but perhaps price could correct a little bit of this strong move that happened today to the upside. And bear in mind as well that if the movement starts to become more about the dollar, then that's the moment where you may have another ranging market or behavior on the euro pound, like in here. So maybe you can have a little bit of a range being created now at these highs in there. But that's for the euro pound, which is an interesting one. Aussie dollar, like who realized the move on the Aussie dollar yesterday, what we predicted, like the pattern that we mentioned in regards to creating this shape. We compared Aussie dollar and New Zealand. If you recall, one created this kind of Z shape, all right, and then kind of moved to downside, and from here you could create, that's Aussie, and New Zealand didn't really create that move, like it created just a little bit on the lower time frame, not so much in the bigger picture, and that's why we could still anticipate. And I mentioned that usually if that happens, we may actually have a new low being created before price moves to the upside, and that's exactly what happened, both on the Aussie and both then on New Zealand. Right, so that's an interesting one as well. Basically, that's what we had between those two pairs. So Aussie dollar came all the way down to test this demand zone. All right, we already had some liquidity in here as well, and really good reaction. And then price just moved to the upside, kind of created a little bit of this move, and then price moved higher. And I think this can be the bottom for now on the Aussie. Eventually, I could anticipate and see price breaking new lows until getting a little bit closer to that level. But for now, I could still, again, we have a double bottom, like double bottoms are really attractive eventually to be faked out, sorry. So that's something to bear in mind in here. But for now, I think you could at least challenge these highs in there. So good reaction, really good reaction here on the Aussie dollar, and price can start moving to the upside from this level. So exactly what we anticipated yesterday, price played out just as we expected. That's really good in here. Yeah, price already broke that level, so you can eventually look for price to go higher in here on New Zealand, on the Aussie. Euro Aussie, that's another one that we looked for, right? So again, first let me just look at New Zealand. Like New Zealand is exactly what I mentioned. Like we had just a strong move to the upside, price broke a high, but we didn't really have that Z shape, right? And because we didn't really have that, then what happened is that price came out the back and now actually still managed to break the low. And actually the low went closer to that zone that we wanted. Like we have been looking for price to get into that zone, if you guys recall. Like we have been waiting for price to get into here, a little bit away from this zone that price was reacting from. All right, getting a little bit closer to this level. And that's exactly where this New Zealand end up going to with this last low. After that, now I could see also this one being a low. right? It's just basically price breaking that level, and you can start having a zone 2 type of a move. This is basically how the creation of a zone 1, which is a deep reversal. Price can still react eventually or getting a little bit closer into this level one last time before making the deep move. But now, after that, if price breaks this level in here, I'm looking for a continuation at this point. All right, that's going to be the move that I'll be looking for when price breaks these highs. Maybe also breaks out this trend line, and there's a lot of room to go to the upside from here, which again, if I start to look at these levels, then means that most likely the dollar index needs to go down, right? Because if I'm looking for potential longs in here, then the dollar index kind of needs to do the opposite. And that's how you can start building up your bias in terms of what to expect for the news as well. Like again, New Zealand, sorry, that's exactly the move that I'm going to be looking for. It looks really good, and it looks like we are creating a bottom at around this level. Yeah, that looks really nice. And then Aussie, Euro Aussie. What we mentioned? We mentioned that price most likely is going to go all the way above this level. Initially, it still reacted a little bit from here. That was yesterday's move. All right, just took this high, reacted from that left shoulder, and you had that initial move, which price did manage to break a low, just retesting from this demand zone. So basically cleaning that order. There's still this level that is fresh, and this level at this point in here. Aside from that, almost everything is fresh. Oh, sorry, everything has been compressed, which means that eventually price can just easily just make all that move to the downside. Where did price go towards to? There you go, right? Beautiful move in there at the origin of the move. We just managed now to break this low as well. That's an important one. We have the pattern. We have again another low being broken. We have another fake out, and then price just move to the downside. Right? Confirmation, create a little bit of an imbalance, and go. Now, next levels in here where you can anticipate price to react from. All right, we may have this structure. It's an important one that to see if price actually holds it or not. Otherwise, we may have the other ones slightly above it. All right, which can lead into a level where price eventually can react from. And perhaps you may even have something in here. That's an interesting one. But I'm looking for a little bit more price getting into this level or eventually into the next zone in there. So that's a little bit of what I'm going to be looking for on the Euro Aussie. It does look really good at this point. Yeah, pound, euro, everything is just moving to the upside now, while the dollar index is moving to the downside. Yeah, pound Aussie also just filled the range. Like if you're just looking at it, literally just went all the way back into the structure. So that's basically the move in there with the news. Looking at the Aussie yen and starting looking into the yen pairs, like with the BOG. So Aussie yen just continued to move downside. Initially was respecting in here. We had broken that level. We respected perfectly that high. Price was reacting from that level. Again, everything was kind of okay. Started creating also this kind of range in here. Looks like as a reversal. And now price just moving to the downside. And it can continue. I don't really see kind of an outstanding trade somewhere in here. So I'm just going to just let it go. Dollar yen, that was also something that we've been looking for. All right, again, I was looking for a potential fake out of this level just one last time. But price already kind of, yeah, price fake out that high, similar to the euro dollar, fake out the euro yen, sorry. Yeah, it fake out that high as well. And there you go. Apparently it was enough. It was enough price respecting this structure and moving to downside. You've been looking for price to fill out this zone and potentially even making a bigger move to downside. So that's something to bear in mind in here. Again, if you do have this, yeah, this can continue to move forward, to be honest. And tomorrow with the NFP as well, it can continue. Euro yen, good reaction again. This was something that we've been looking for. Creates a pattern and then just moves to downside. It still hasn't really filled the gap, so that's something that eventually can go towards too. We did fake out that level. Again, I was looking even a little bit higher, but after that fake out, maybe price could do what it did. It's great. And again, depending, because we may have still this strong euro index or euro dollar, which may push a little bit of this euro yen a little bit more to the upside, while we may have a little bit of a move to downside on the dollar yen. So again, this is a bit of positioning as well to see in which of the yen pairs we may anticipate a bigger move, in this case to downside. The move has been okay, but yeah, we will see if this euro yen is ready to make that bigger turn. Yeah, that's something to look at. pound yen, because of the pound pairs as well. There you go, much bigger move to downside, right? Which will run away from all this level. Also fake out that that high into that structure, never, it didn't even react from there, and then you had that big move to downside. Again, a lot of compression. Initially closed the gap, then kind of reacted from there, and now moving to downside into here. I can still see further move to downside from here, to be honest. This is an interesting demand zone where price is reacting right now. Basically the level that actually initiated this push up. But yeah, it looks like that this pound yen could eventually continue to move lower. Didn't even notice CAD yen, what did he do, but just continues to move to downside as well. And then the CAD pairs. All right, so CAD pairs, dollar CAD, one more time, getting really close to that high. I want to see this high being taken at this point. Getting really close, finding some more selling pressure. Eventually can go, there's maybe one last level in there, otherwise price starts going to the upside from here. Right, of course you can have that initial fake out of this level in here, and then potentially move to the downside before potentially price just continue to go higher. Right, as soon as you take that level, you may get a little bit deeper into this zone in here, but eventually you can open the door for price to go and make that move. So that's something to bear in mind in here on dollar CAD. The other CAD pairs, again, quite volatile. Euro CAD just moving to the upside. Again, I'm looking for price finally to take these highs and eventually getting closer to that level. So that's a zone that I'm going to be looking for. Good reaction from here, but now anticipating price to go again. Price still respecting these lows in here as well. So I'd like to see a bit more of bullishness in here on this Euro CAD, with price eventually taking out these highs and even taking that high a little bit closer to that level. So that's a zone eventually where I'm going to be looking for. On the Euro CAD, after price keeps respecting these lows in there. On CAD, another strong move, right? So again, another pound pair that made such a negative reaction, and price is filling this range, which we came all the way to target. Boom, done. After faking out that high, reacted and moved to downside. Didn't even think twice, and now we'll see what's going to happen next. All right, so yep, we will pay attention. Prices which we close the gap. If it breaks, can continue to go a bit lower, or it keeps respecting this level and goes higher again. Again, a lot of volatility around these pairs. It can even definitely go slightly higher as well. So we'll see what's going to happen in here. Dollar franc Swiss, it has been one of the quietest pairs. Again, I still like the idea of price eventually taking this highs. Price hasn't really managed to do that. Tomorrow, of course, with NFP, maybe we can have a little bit more volatility as well playing out in here. We did manage to break that low, so that was a move that we were anticipating. All right, price did manage to break that, so it was something to look for. Okay, it's not drawing. So yeah, we'll see price filling this range, and then eventually can continue to move to downside. Also looking eventually for price to get a little bit closer to the left into this level, which can still happen. Again, you can have, if the dollar index does want to make that last push up before potential move to downside, maybe we can provide a new push up in here, and then before price making the move downside. Like, and I see a lot of weakness as soon as price starts moving to downside. I don't really see anything in here standing out that can hold price. So there's maybe a lot of bearish move that can happen as soon as price finally gains some momentum. So that's something to bear in mind in here on the dollar franc Swiss, something that you can start positioning yourselves. If you remember a few weeks ago, at the beginning of the month, we looked for this move to the upside when price starting to break this structure. Price which we fill the range, and now kind of looking a little bit more for the opposite to happen in here. And then we have gold, right? What a move to downside. Finally, some proper correction in here on gold, and which we're just coming back into this structure, to be honest. And then we'll see, right? We'll see what's going to happen after that. We start noticing a little bit of weakness, and then price just literally crashed in here, moving to the downside. So we'll see what's going to happen. Maybe new opportunities to look for longs as price getting a little bit closer into this level, or to see if there's actually the beginning of a potential correction in here on gold. Something to bear in mind. The silver, also a really strong move. We talked about this break to the downside. There was maybe a little bit of space for price eventually to get into the next structure, and that's basically where silver is moving towards too. All right, and if it doesn't even want to stop there, then it can even go there. But yeah, perhaps can retest this level and push a little bit more to the downside. Again, we talked about that level on the left side. It looks like a nice level where silver is reacting and price kind of literally correcting a little bit at this point. So that's something to bear in mind in here on silver. Again, a little bit more room to downside towards this level with attention to that zone as well. And then we have oil, which basically filling the range, right? Filling this gap. Again, apparently there was some kind of news that Iran is potentially planning a new attack against Israel, and there you go, like another spike, which as you can see in here, that didn't happen that far away, a long time ago. It was literally 1 hour ago, so something like that. We have been looking for that, like we've been looking, price respected that level, we've been looking for that bullishness, and price starting to turn. Like that's literally what we talked about as well the last 2 days. And then finally price gaining momentum. It was a slow move in here with a little bit of a ranging behavior in here. Not really deep retracement, unfortunately, but there you go. Leaving the range, that's basically the trade. When you have those gaps, not the range, the gap. When you have those gaps, that's kind of a trade that you can always look for. But we need to pay attention first to see which level we can look for that trade. It took a little bit of time, basically 2-3 days, until finally price starting to move in that direction. So that's basically crude oil, and then you have Brent as well, which basically making the same type of a move, still respecting that level as well, and now price getting a little bit closer in here as well. So that's going to be an interesting one. See if price is going to actually fill the range. This has been the trade of the week that we've been looking on oil, so nothing really changes at this point until price can potentially fills the range, and then we'll see if we find some support or some resistance in there and pushes lower, or if eventually price wants to move to the upside from there. Of course, price can still retest this level, so can find some more buy pressure somewhere in here, and if by any chance price wants to spike below those lows, and from here potentially can even have a new opportunity to look for a move to the upside. All right, so if price by any chance wants to do something like that, it can, all right, faking out potentially kind of these lows in here. Until eventually price gets closer to that level. But for now, you can literally just fill the range in there. Yeah, so that's basically it. All right, so that's basically what we are looking for today's session in here. Just see one thing. 106. That's interesting. Like, so tomorrow the market is anticipating a really low number, which can open the door for any number above this level. Like we may have a strong push on the dollar to the upside. So that's interesting. Like, so not really sure why the market is anticipating such a low number in here. I don't remember when was the last time that price was just anticipating kind of 100k new jobs. That looks like odd. As you can see in here, it was maybe 147, it was 160. It's still a big difference between 106 and 147. 190, 190, 200s, right? 106, it looks like a low number. So any uptick, any number slightly bigger than that, I think price can literally go upwards. If by any chance there is even a lower number than this, then can be a concern. Like any number below 100, like just a 2 digits number, that can be a really concern. I don't remember last time that actually in September it was revised, right? These revisions that they do constantly, it's incredible. Like people or everyone kind of forgets about the revised numbers in here, but they ever happen. As you can see, every single arrow is a revision. Like last time actually that there was no revision, it was back in December, which is incredible. Right, so again, trusting these numbers in here, this is actually nice to make a post about this because this is absolutely various. What we have in here, and usually it's revised to the downside, to be honest. In here, actually this one was to the upside. As you can see, the majority is actually red from what we have. So yeah, that's actually quite interesting. All right, so just to recap in terms of what we are looking in here, right? So recap what we are looking in today's live stream. We had plenty of news today. All right, we had the core PC. All right, 1 second. All right, just to revise what we looked at in today's live stream, comparing it to what we were looking for yesterday. Many of the moves that we anticipated play out exactly as we were anticipating. Looking at US indices, at the DAX, at oil, at euro, at Aussie, like basically most of them played out as we were looking. The N pairs after the BOG. So again, you had BOG remained the same, the rates, and nothing new in there. And then you had Core PC in the US, 0.3%, slightly higher than anticipated. Unemployment claims coming out at 200k. Again, back into this range of 200. And tomorrow, of course, we have NFP, which is going to be quite important. So those in terms of the catalysts that we had today. Again, the market, it looks like it continues to react quite negatively to the budget in the UK, where we had a strong move, another leg down on the pound dollar and across basically all the pound dollars. But looking at the dollar index, what we've been looking for is for dollar index to start breaking to the downside and to see more bearishness. All right, so we finally broke this structure, and that's how I'm going to be positioning, is to try to see more selling opportunities tomorrow during the NFP. I could still see a deep retracement. If price does want to do that, you can perhaps have a deep retracement to the upside before moving to the downside. But price could actually perhaps just move all the way through without that deep retracement. So those are basically the two scenarios in here: a potential deep retracement or price just falling from where it is, which then looking at euro dollar and so on is quite the opposite. Now, pound dollar made a really big move to the downside, which means that there's maybe more upside also if price is about to turn. Like there's maybe more bullish momentum that you can look for. Price is now reacting from this interesting level on the left side, this daily demand zone. So there was a lot of space that price had to fill, and that was also our bias throughout these last few days. On the euro dollar, it's the opposite. We can see that this may be already the low, and we have called that already for the last few days, and price can actually start moving. It actually reached one of the first targets that we're looking for, but there's perhaps more upside that you can look as well. Euro pound as well, it reached the initial target that we have been looking for in the bigger picture, so we can actually start seeing a little bit of a move to the downside on the euro pound and move to the upside on the pound dollar. Even the other pound pairs as well, looking at the pound Aussie, pound yen, and so on, it looks like that the lows are reacting from an interesting level, so we could see a little bit of strength for tomorrow's session on the pound. Looking at again Aussie dollar, New Zealand as well, we are looking still for those longs. We talked about that scenario, the specific pattern where most likely Aussie dollar could still respect the lows without and go higher, basically create a double bottom, and the opposite on New Zealand, where it could have a new low just because of specific pattern that was being created, and so creating a new low before actually making another leg to the upside, and that's exactly how the market played out. Looking at the yen index, the yen index and the yen pairs, like we had BOG, and we're looking for longs. I've been looking for longs for quite a while from this level, right? So we're anticipating price to come back to this level before moving to the upside. So even last week when price was still creating this low, we mentioned that we would like to see a new leg down before price moving to the upside, and it looks like that's playing out like that, which means that we're looking for shorts on euro yen, dollar yen, pound yen, and so on. Now there's more room to the upside in here. All right, I could see eventually price to fill this range. There's still a few levels that price can retest to the downside before moving upwards, but that's a little bit of the range now that I'm looking for the the yen index to fill. Euro index, that was another one that we looked for. This was another basically chart of the week where we had this big momentum, and this helped to predict kind of that momentum on mostly of the euro pairs. We look at euro Aussie and so on. So euro Aussie, euro CAD, euro pound, and so on. We're looking for that momentum, even euro dollar, and it played out exactly. And now price is approaching this level, which may start eventually looking for some weakness on some of those euro pairs. Just to also to mention about the euro Aussie, that we have looking for that move to the upside and potential reaction from that high. Price reacted exactly as anticipated. And if the Aussie dollar is actually about to turn out to the upside, this can be a great level for the euro Aussie to start moving to the downside. So perhaps you may have an opportunity as well in there. Looking at the indices, what a move, right? Again, if you guys recall, this is exactly what we were looking for. And now perhaps it was just earnings on Apple and Amazon. So there you go, more volatility at this moment. But this was exactly the move. We identified the break to the downside. We saw a lot of space. This was a prediction that we have been looking for already for the last few days. And price today literally just feel all that move. Like everything was compressed. So no surprise that when you have a strong compression, price can just move quite quickly, pass through all of those levels, eventually to get into the next level, which was exactly this. And now it's one of the two scenarios, right? Either price respects this level, it starts finding some bullishness and goes to the upside from here, or price is going to break this low and starts opening a move, kind of opening more space for price to eventually move further down. It doesn't mean that price will just follow through completely. Price can break this low and start moving to the upside, but it starts opening that door, which means that in the future, looking for more bearish moves in here on the S&P. Nasdaq doing exactly the same thing, like filling that range that we have been looking for. So initially this low didn't even react from. Price went all the way to respect and to react from the last fresh level that was created still at the highs back in July. And now price basically made that move. So we're looking for that as well, for price to fill out that space. And this is a potential move that can happen tomorrow. It's the same thing as the S&P to see if price actually respects this level and goes up. Or if it starts breaking it, it starts opening a door for the Nasdaq to go much further down as well. So that's what you can look in here. Again, the earnings haven't been that bad. Actually, they've been quite positive, even yesterday or 2 days ago. I don't really know now what the numbers are for Apple and Amazon. I didn't look at it, but it was quite strange that with such a good news, or kind of at least positive earnings, we have such a strong bearish move in here, right? So usually we don't really want to see positive news in terms of earnings or data and all of a sudden a negative reaction from the market. We don't want to see that. That can be a little bit of a concern. Like maybe something is off and maybe the investors and whatever is participating in the market is not really happy with something, which means that maybe can have a further move to downside. We'll see. Dow Jones as well just continues to move to downside. This is the next level that we're looking for. We had this pattern also identified since last week that we're looking for shorts and price basically paying out. And this is basically the trade of the week. Right? This was the pattern of the week in here where he had DAX. Like anticipating on Monday to look for shorts from those highs. We had identified the break to the downside and price reaches the filled range. Again, similar to the other indices. Basically, it's interesting that now all those indices are reacting from good levels. Basically, they fill the range, they fill the target that we were looking for. And now one of the two things are going to happen. Either price breaks the level and again opens the door for potential further move to downside, or it starts respecting and it starts moving to the upside. So one of those two scenarios are going to play out in here. But again, the initial move that we were looking for in the beginning of this week, it played out really, really nice. And this is when you can start anticipating a proper swing move or looking for a bigger target. Like it's when you have such a strong compression, you have a clear break, and you have a lot of space that price eventually can fill. What you cannot control is how quick the move is going to happen, right? In this case, it was quite quick. Basically, in 2 days, price made the move that it took kind of, I don't know, more than a week to play out, right? So that's the power of compression as well. And this is what the market can provide in here. So that's really nice. Bitcoin finding some resistance, and Ethereum actually with even a stronger move to downside after reacting from the highs. We'll see what's going to happen around this level as well. So that's basically what gold actually made a strong move to downside. We'll see if this is actually to sustain or if price is going to find more bullishness. Silver as well, we had identified also that break of a low in price today falling through, also getting closer to that next level. And dollar CAD still at the highs. I still want to see price faking out the highs first before we can for sure, so I'm still going to be patient on that one. And what else? And the oil basically filling the range, right? Apparently there was some news just 1 hour ago that potentially Iran is planning another attack against Israel, and we had that move to the upside, basically price filling that range. So again, for tomorrow, potential shorts on the dollar, potential more longs on the Aussie and so on, pound and so on. So we'll see if that's going to happen. Indices, again, curious to see how price may react from this level. And yeah, it's a bit of waiting to see what's going to happen as well with NFP. With that being said, guys, thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow. Actually, I'll see you on Sunday. Bye-bye.